Hi, this is Dr. Tom Rogers at Performance Medicine, coming to you with the weekly podcast. Going to talk about something today very important to your gut health. I'm always talking about everything starts in your gut and gut health, how to take probiotics, prebiotics, etc. Well, today I'm going to talk about something that hit close to home last week for me. We're going to talk about fiber. And I'll tell you why this hit close to me, because one day I think I really overdid it with my workout. I had some new equipment, and immediately after a really hard workout, I got into my infrared sauna for probably too long that day. It was feeling great. The sweat was pouring. I got probably a little bit dehydrated. So besides feeling a little weak until I took my cold shower and started hydrating with a little BioLite electrolyte formulation, that night I had something that I really don't think I've ever had, and that was constipation. Um, I know most of you people have had constipation, but that was really a first for me. So that was really uncomfortable. So I decided I needed better hydration, of course, but I also started talking about the fiber because the next day I went out and bought both some Metamucil and some Citrussil, the powders of fiber. I remember watching my dad, who was a colon surgeon, mix his in every day, and then my brother, who was also followed in his footsteps in surgery, do the same thing. They're both convinced that fiber in your diet decreases colon cancer that they had to treat so often, and they were right. So I immediately went out and bought some for myself. But then I started looking on the ingredient list of both of them. I bought one of each just to see which tasted the best. And there's a lot of chemicals in Metamucil and Citrussil. There's some sugar in there too. So I started doing a deep dive on fiber, and I came up with a clear winner, which I'll reveal to you at the end of this podcast on my choice of fiber. So, why is fiber so important? Because it helps your colon. We'll talk about your colon. Um, it's so interesting about fiber, and how many Americans don't get enough? 90% of us don't get enough fiber, and I was definitely in that 90 percentile. Um, it turns out that what it does, it helps you digest your foods and move things through. It helps move toxins out of your colon. The average person gets about 15 grams of fiber. And it turns out that men need 35 grams, women need about 30 grams of fiber. And that's at least. Most Americans don't get nearly that much because they're eating junk food, processed foods, or not getting enough good fiber. Now, there's two types of fiber. We'll talk about both. Soluble fiber means it dissolves in water and the gut, and insoluble, meaning uh, it just moves through. It forms bulk, and it helps move stuff, toxins through your colon. There are no calories in the insoluble, and it's probably the more important of the two. The insoluble is more important than the soluble. Now, the soluble is important too. So you need a little bit of both. But if you lean more towards the insoluble, your bowels are going to move better. But there are uses for soluble as well. It helps absorb things. It's better if you have diarrhea. And the insoluble, of course, is best if you have constipation, IBS. Most IBS that I see are lean towards the constipation, but there are some diarrhea preponderant IBSs as well. Um, so, when I looked this up, when I got the Metamucil, it's mostly soluble fiber, psyllium. It comes from psyllium husk, which is a type of plant that it comes from. And they grind it up, but it turns out they mix it with too much stuff that's really probably not as good for you as another one I'm going to mention, which is mostly insoluble in a minute. So Psyllium is a good fiber, but if you do that, you need to get an organic type um, because there are a lot of chemicals and things in there. Um, so you need both, but I think the insoluble is probably more important than the soluble. Um, and I'm going to reveal my favorite that I got and really helps tremendously. I'll take it for the rest of my life. It turns out it's hemp. We always talk about CBD and all this. It's hemp that provides the best type of fiber. So hemp protein is what I'm taking, and really in the form of hemp seeds. There's a lot less gas, and it turns out it has both soluble and insoluble, but it's 80% of the insoluble, which I think is the more important. And you just produce less gas with this for one thing, but it has so many other wonderful things that you can talk about. Of course, I will tell you that the best source of any fiber is probably going to be what you eat. And of course, veggies, fruits, avoid the high glycemic ones like we talk about, especially if you're trying to lose weight. Nuts, seeds, beans, and maybe oats. Um, so soluble, it lowers fat absorption, it blocks fat, so it will decrease your cholesterol. It also will help decrease blood sugar spikes, and it feeds your gut, your healthy gut bacteria. The insoluble, of course, prevents constipation, decreases diverticular disease of the colon, decreases hemorrhoids, and decreases cancer of the colon that we talked about. So it turns out you do need both. It's best in foods, but most of us probably need a supplement. I know I do. Um, you also have your chia and your flax seeds. I think the seeds are better than the oils. The oils are processed. And the flaxseed, if you had to choose between chia and flax, I'd much rather choose the flax over the chia. But they're both good sources of fiber. Flax, it turns out, has more antioxidants. And the seeds are better because it's a whole food, whereas the oils are not a whole food, it's processed. Um, and let me give you a couple tips too. When you're mixing, if you get the powder and don't eat the seeds, um, you know, fibers doesn't really mix really well in water. You need to put it in water, but it doesn't mix well. So when you stir it up, make sure you just immediately drink the whole thing pretty fast. And I want you not to take medicines within 2 hours of either side, before and after, when you take your fiber supplement, because it can interfere with your medicine absorption. And on your vitamins, it could even interfere with that too. So I recommend an hour on each side for your vitamins supplements, and for prescription medications, generally 2 hours on each side. Now, also, if you're extremely constipated, taking these fibers is not going to work. It may make it worse because it may give you more gas and bloating. I sure hope you're taking your Digest Shield as your pre and probiotic formulation, and also has all the other good stuff like the dairy blocker, the gluten blocker, the digestive enzymes that you need. So definitely you need that, but most people need more fiber. And to me, the clear winner is hemp seeds. At least for me, it is. It has anti-inflammatory properties. It has a great omega 6 to omega 3 ratio, 3 to 1. And the omega 6, it turns out, it has the GLA form, which are the good omega 6s in it. It also contains antioxidants that you need for heart health. It has arginine in there, which increases your nitric oxide production, which we always talk about being so healthy for your vessels. It's a good source of magnesium and melatonin. Hemp seeds are a good source of melatonin. So it helps sleep. and it helps anxiety as well. And remember, melatonin only works, it only makes you sleepy if it's dark. So you can take melatonin during the day without any problem. Um, Hemp is really good for your skin and hair. It prevents hair loss, establishes a luster to your hair. And remember, hemp does not have THC in it, so it doesn't have any psychoactive properties to it. And the fiber is 80% insoluble fiber. The fiber, I think, is more important for your colon health. It helps you lose weight because it keeps you full. Some people will take it before that 30 minutes before a meal and they won't eat as much. Hemp's used by a lot of athletes as the protein that increases muscle the most. I think it's very important. I've started using about 3 tablespoons of the hemp seeds, and I like it. It has kind of a nutty flavor to it. If you like the stuff that's ground up, fine. But the point of this whole thing is you need more fiber. Almost anybody listening to this podcast needs to consume more fiber in their diets for a lot of reasons other than just your colon health and constipation. So think about, and I love the hemp. To me, the hemp seeds were the clear winner. So I hope this helps. Any questions, don't hesitate to contact us at performancemedicine.net, or even better, come in and see us. Thank you. This is Dr. Tom Rogers at Performance Medicine.